Good morning, everyone. I am Oliver Biles. I'm your host for today, and today we have got a very special guest on. He is the president of PokerGO, Poker Central. He also does have the best hash in the poker industry. It's none other than Mr. Sam Simmons. Sam, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I gotcha.
You got me. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good.
And where are you at the moment in the world?
I am in Las Vegas, Nevada,
Beautiful.
in our headquarters here in Vegas.
And how's the weather over there?
It's looking great. You can kind of see behind me. It's sunny and not cloudy and about, say, 55, 60 degrees, so a little chilly out there. It's certainly more so than most people come here in the summer for the World Series, but it's lovely.
Yeah, I was actually there last year in like January, and I brought my girlfriend over because I said, oh, we should go to Vegas. It's always warm. It's really nice. And it was bloody freezing when we got there. And it's actually, I think it snowed or something. It was just like raining and snow in Vegas, which was crazy.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. The winter, many people aren't here around this time, but it'll surprise you with how cold it can get, and sometimes with the snow and the hail, it gets pretty crazy.
And how do you sort of deal with the fact that it's like cold in January, but then you come to the summer, and I've been there for the last few World Series, and you can barely walk outside. Do you have a wardrobe full of so many clothes to be able to like adjust to all these different weather?
You really got to have to use a bit of a poker term, a polarizing portfolio of clothing, and accessorizing is a big key. You got to wear layers. You got to be ready for anything. And luckily, the lifestyle in Vegas doesn't call for much time outdoors. So you got to be quick to the Uber and quick out of it into the casino.
Absolutely. And so the main reason we've got you on here today is because you have announced some exciting news with PokerGO, that you guys have acquired the high stakes poker brand. Is that right?
We sure have. It's the great white whale, so to speak, that we've been looking at for the past few years, and with our goal always having been and always continuing to be the home for all of best-in-class poker programming. For us, high-stakes poker was the most important and really a missing piece for us that we're very happy to now have in the portfolio.
So you say it was a couple of years in the making. So has this been something that you've wanted pretty much from when because I know that you've been sort of president for a couple of years or a few years now. Is this something that was high in your priority when you took over?
Yeah, certainly so. It's something that we've always wanted. We've always talked about it. We had been in talks with Game Show Network for quite a while, who owned the brand previously. And for us, it was a matter of having a plan together. And we didn't necessarily want to buy up such a valuable brand just to sit there. So from our end of things, we wanted to acquire it at the right time and then do with it what we thought did it justice. And that is certainly our goal in the coming months and years as we look to utilize it going forward.
Yeah, fantastic. So one thing we did is we put out on our Instagram story for anyone that wanted to ask any questions, and anyone there in the chat, we've got Steve, we've got Aaron in there. If you guys have got any questions about high stakes poker for Sam, please let us know and we'll ask him those questions. But for now, we'll start with some of the questions that were asked on the Instagram. One of the main ones that I kind of wanted to know as well is, are you keeping the classic theme song? Now, before you answer that question, I've got a little video clip that I want to run because, back when I was sort of learning about 10 years ago, high stakes poker, probably the same for you because we're about the same age, was something that I watched all the time. I love the theme song. So just because we can, we're going to run that now. All right. So having listened to that, is that something that you're going to keep? Are we going to change it? What's the plan?
Yeah, to be honest with you, as I sit here, I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to keep secret and what I'm not, so we can make this a little bit of a tell-all. I think / know that we will be keeping a lot of the same themes of the old show. I think the theme song could be one of them. Put it straight up, I think that fans should expect to hear that same song, and much like we did for Poker After Dark, if you listen to the intros for the Poker After Darks we have today, we use the same theme song. We have a modified version of that intro, and that's something we're going to replicate for this series as well.
Fantastic. And going on to sort of, you're talking about a lot of the things we're trying to keep the same. There was another question that came in from Michael Pierpoint where he said, will Gabe Kaplan and AJ Benza be returning for commentary? So do you have a lineup of commentators?
We don't yet. I can say honestly and transparently that is not yet finalized. I think that those two individuals would be atop our list, and they would certainly make sense. And that was the two of those guys in particular, and specifically Gabe Kaplan, I'd say, really brought home the magic of that series. And that's something that we've heard time and time again, is the desire to have those guys come back to do commentary on the revival of the series. So we certainly look to do that, and I think it's just a matter of us getting it finalized with them.
I think as well, like, one thing that you guys have got going for you as well, you've got some great commentators. You've got Jeff Platt in there, you've got Brent Hanks, you've got Jamie Kerstetter, who does some stuff as well. Like, it would be quite nice, I think, to kind of bring, as sort of classic as this show is to bring it into the modern era as well, with these kind of new commentators, and try and, I guess, is that something you're trying to think, is trying to merge it, keep the kind of classic bits that are amazing, but also trying to bring it into the modern world as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually something that we had looked to replicate to a degree in 2015, I guess it was. We did it live without whole cards on Twitch, and then created episodes much like High Stakes Poker was produced in an episodic format of Super High Roller Cash Game. And for that one in particular, we had used Nick Schulman and AJ Benza. And similarly, that had a very fun, casual feel with super high stakes and super compelling players, personalities, and entertainers, really. And that to me is much like what you're talking about, of trying to take that old school vibe and bring in sort of a new flavor to it through the commentary, through the players, and whatever else. I think that what that was is probably more center of where we'll end up being with this, which is very much harkening back to, again, the themes of the old series. And there will be a lot of the new sprinkled in with the old, but we won't really want to recapture the show as it was when poker fans like you and I really craved it back in the day.
And that kind of is sort of this question that T Kinney 0918 from Instagram asked, saying, will the show have a similar format as before on GSN? One thing I think that probably will change, and I assume it will, is, you know, those old cameras that used to shoot through the glass to get the whole cards. I assume that you're going to use sort of RFID now, because that's something that we've moved on from. What about stacks of cash on the table? That was always a big thing I really like seeing, is these absolute massive wads where they were betting rather than chips. Is that something that you're going to try and keep?
Yeah, I think all of this is in play, and obviously with Nevada gaming regulation at play here, we need to collaborate with our partners at Aria to work on some of this stuff, find out what is permitted, what is not, because regulation seems to change all the time, year over year. We want to do that. Trust me, no one more than I wants to make that stuff happen. We certainly have RFID at our disposal now for the whole card stuff, which makes things all the more flexible for us. And to the point about format, thinking about, you know, it's been a common debate in streamed poker of live versus episodic, and really it remains to be seen for us, but it was indicated in the press release. We're looking at potential media partners and distribution outlets to partner with for the series, and we don't exactly know where the show is going to end up yet, but we very much emphasize a mainstream and scaled audience for a series like this, given the stature that it has in the industry and really mainstream media at large. So it's probably something that we take to a TV network of some sort, or major streaming subscription partner of some kind, and we're looking to bring it to the masses in that way. And I think that, especially when you consider a more mainstream audience than you would say the tight-knit poker community, you're looking at something that's probably better off being in an episodic format, which would again harken back to the original series.
Yeah, and I think from one thing I remember from the High Stakes Poker is that they used to do a season, or at least a few episodes, with the same kind of group. And that's leading me on to the next question that someone asked, which was something about the lineup. Jay Henderson said, who is going to play in the new High Stakes Poker games? Are we going to have some of the old faces showing up? Are we going to have, you know, a mix between the old and the new? Do you have any idea of, like, the players that want to play?
I have some idea, but without commitment, it's hard to say. I can say that we want to bring back a lot of those same personalities, and I can say that we pretty much have gotten no refusals yet from those that we've asked about. Mm-hmm. So take that for what it's worth. Yeah. It's good news in that I expect to see a lot of similar faces, but at the same time, I want to sprinkle in some new faces as well. I want to give this let this series be a jumping off point for a lot of the new personalities that have emerged in this, say, past 5 to 7 years. And I think that this is a series unlike any other in that a lot of the new players can appreciate it for what it is, which is an entertainment product versus a straight poker game. And I hope they treat the game as such. And I know that there's high stakes at play, but what we're looking for is personalities, and that's certainly what we'll put emphasis on as we're conducting our search for who's going to be playing in these shows.
Fantastic. And one thing I do want to ask is, do you have any idea on the stakes that are going to be played? Because I know in high stakes poker, the stakes changed. Sometimes they were playing 300, 600. I think sometimes they even played like 1K, 2K. Is there kind of any idea of what stakes you're going to play?
I mean, it'll depend on the game. Honestly, it'll depend on who's playing, what everyone's comfortable playing. You know how these things work too, where you start at a certain stakes and then you get a straddle or two in, and next thing you know, you're playing about 3x what you started with. So the short answer is as high as possible, but as high as we can comfortably take it to is probably the best way to say it.
And are you going to have a minimum? So you say that, you know, the kind of no ceiling.
Oh, yes.
Is there going to be, what do you know what the minimum is going to be, like the lowest stakes that you'll play on that?
There's going to be, I could say with confidence, there's going to be at least $1 million on the table for every game, without knowing what the exact minimum per player is. But I would say optimistically that we're talking multi-million games occurring on every single occasion. And we're actually, as it stands now, we're going to have 3 to 5 days of shooting for these episodes. So we're targeting an array of lineups where we're going to have some particular personalities sprinkled throughout. People may rotate in and out on a day-to-day basis, but the luxury too of having this be potentially in an episodic format is that we'll be able to have, I guess, greater flexibility with how we program different players in the game. We could take breaks. We can come in and out. We can do a game 1A in the morning of day one, and then 1B later in the day, and we can really make this a diverse array of personalities to showcase throughout the season, so to speak.
Yeah, and with the kind of, you're saying you're shooting over like sort of 3 to 5 days. How many sort of episodes do you expect to kind of be able to make in 3 to 5 days with sort of one lineup? Is that hard to say?
Yeah, it's hard to say, but the funny thing is about poker is that you're entirely at the mercy of the action, and you plan the games knowing that you're going to have action, so that you could then extract as much content from those games as you possibly can. So for our purposes, I think that it would vary if anywhere from 12 to 20 episodes for a season is what we would probably target. But that being said, it's all up in the air, and we'll just see how things shake out.
Yeah, great. And sort of, do you have any idea from now, sort of when that first episode is going to air that everyone can kind of watch?
That I can't tell you yet. It'll depend on when the game comes together, when this thing gets shot, and when we can get it distributed. And I'd say from our end of things, it's pretty much an ASAP type of equation for us. We're looking to do it quickly, but obviously we want to do it the right way as well, because the last thing we want to do is do this in a half-assed way where we send a less than optimal product to market. And we would rather take our time to do it the right way and get something out there that really captures what the series is supposed to be and impress and please poker fans that way.
Yeah, and this guy called Steve, hello Steve, in the chat is saying, wish I had their money to play like them. Now that's just made me think of a question. Are you going to have any kind of like competitions or like, random people coming into play that have been staked by people, or is there going to be any kind of like, I don't know, some kind of competition run that they can win a seat in the game? Is that something that might happen?
It could be.
Yeah.
I will say that it is a high price point to offer up in a competition, but especially in a cash game where you're talking about, it's who knows where that goes after a hand or two. It could get a little bit gambly pretty quickly. But that being said, everything's on the table, so I like the idea, and if that's something that we can put into place, I would love to see it.
And would you say that anyone who kind of has the money to play, would they be able to get a seat in the game, or is it going to be quite an exclusive sort of? I know there's a big thing in the poker world at the moment about these kind of private games and not being able to play. Are the doors going to be open for pretty much anyone that wants to play in the game, or is it more going to be who you think will be good on TV?
It's a combination of both. The short answer is everyone is welcome to play. We want to hear from anyone who has that kind of bankroll, because I certainly don't, to get into that game. But that being said as well, we expect and want to have a lineup that is really action driven and full of entertaining players. And that being said, a lot of those who may throw their hat in the ring to come play in a game like this may be personalities, and we want to see those personalities. So in any way it is, whether it's on social media, whether it's contacting us or sending us any examples of splashy play, you might say, for a cash game like this, we're all ears, and we'd love to see it, and we'd love to have some of those people in the game.
So if you're out there, guys, watching, and you've got, I don't know, a few 100K sat behind you and you want to play with some of the world's best and brightest, then give Sam Simmons a message and you might find yourself in that game. Is there anything else you sort of want to cover in terms of anything else that PokerGO and Poker Central might be doing? I know that you guys, are you planning to kind of cover the whole World Series again this summer?
Yep, World Series is coming down the pipe again. This will be our third year of coverage, and we're very much looking forward to it. We have some exciting plans around distribution across PokerGO and other channels for this year again. We're continuing our ESPN relationship, so we're going to have a lot of primetime hours on those channels as well, which is always great for poker and gets the game out there that way. But as far as other properties, we're actually, I don't know if you saw, I was looking up and laughing because I saw Brett Hanks walking across our hallway, because they're on break right now from the Party Poker event that we're doing in Uruguay. So Party Poker South America is going on right now on PokerGO. Feel free to check that out. We have a fun Russia event with them early next month. We've got a Poker After Dark in a few weeks on I think it's the 22nd, 23rd, but don't quote me on that. And then our U.S. Poker Open, which is a big major for us, late in February, and then a few days of World Poker Tour events to close March and lead on April. And that's just the next month and a half. So point being, as far as PokerGO goes, there's always new exciting stuff happening, new events, new broadcasts, and everything in between. And that's all going to lead up to WSOP this year. So I'd say for anyone watching at home, there's no better time to subscribe than the present.
Man, you are a busy team. You've got a lot going on. Is there any kind of, when do you guys get your breaks? Do you literally only get Christmas off? Is that it?
Our break, we have an office fight to the death, and then the person who wins gets to go on vacation. No, we alternate. We're a great team here, and we get our breaks when we can. We find our spots and we pick our spots well. Our most coveted break is after the series, and once we hit that final card at the end of the main event and the ESPN broadcast closes down, we typically go have a few drinks and then take a few days nap, and then we kind of all go about our time on vacations and whatever else over this next month or so. So until then, it's a big lead up. We got a lot going on, and we'll get to the vacation when we get to it. But for now, there's plenty of work to do. One
thing that I know about the PokerGO team, for the people that I know on it though, is that you're all absolutely super passionate about poker. So does it? I guess it doesn't really, as much as it is hard work, it probably doesn't feel like such a grind because you just love it, right? You love putting out this content, you love the game, and I think that's really important for a company and for the employees of the company, is that they all love the game. And I know that everyone that I know within PokerGO is very much a player as well as sort of working in the industry, which I think is really important, right?
Yeah, it certainly is, and it speaks a bit as well to high stakes poker dynamic, where not only on my to-do list, but the to-do list of a lot of people in the organization was to check that box and bring high stakes poker into the fold, because we saw it as one of our favorite shows from the olden days of poker, so to speak, pre-Black Friday. And there's a renaissance happening. We can all see it across poker content and sports betting legislation, especially here in the United States. And all of that momentum really energizes us internally, and we hope it does for the industry at large. And we're starting to see that stuff, and we want to be at the forefront of it. We not only want to bring poker back, but we honestly think and see that poker is back. And that being said, that's the reason why we come into work, and we enjoy what we do, and we're excited to be, and we hope to be at the forefront of all that.
Fantastic. And I've got a good question here from a guy called Trevor Savage, who's actually going to be on live stream with us tomorrow. He's a poker vlogger, and he says, "Hey Sam, given the issues that poker content creators are having with YouTube, do you guys have any plans to potentially reach out to vloggers to move into that type of market with PokerGo? So for anyone that doesn't really know what's going on, YouTube have been taking down a lot of poker vlogs, citing that they're kind of dangerous content or whatever. And I know previously a guy called Jamie Staples, who's a party poker pro, had a lot of his videos taken down last year, and other people were having their videos taken down, and we were all trying to work out exactly why they were taking it down, because the thing with YouTube is they don't really give you much of a reason. One commonality that seemed to be the problem was that people were putting external links to poker sites in their descriptions. Now everyone went through and basically deleted all of that, and it's been happening again, and no one really knows what's going on. So that's the kind of background, and I think a lot of poker vloggers out there, and I make vlogs myself, and to have all our hard work pretty much just swiped away and not given any reason is really, really painful, because we put a lot of time and effort into that. So is there something that PokerGo could do for these poker vloggers? Could they become a platform for us to be able to put our videos out there and not have to worry about them being taken down?
Yeah, I wish it was that easy, and I would say that from our end of things, it's something that we face as well. We have had takedown issues with YouTube in the past, and I think my best advice on that would be twofold. First of which is to know the ins and outs of the terms and conditions of the platforms, whether it be YouTube, whether it be other social sites, whether it be Google, whatever else it may be, where you're potentially spending money on advertising or whatever it is, wherever your presence is, and know what the rules are. Because I think that's something that I've learned myself over the past several years, is there's just so many nuances to those rules and regulations, and they're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt when it comes to forgiveness of those rules.
Absolutely.
So especially if you're looking to make a livelihood off of this, you're going to want to know the ins and outs of the platforms and know what you can and can't do. And even still, that's not foolproof either. And at the end of the day, YouTube is a massive platform that has hundreds of thousands, millions of creators, and they can't be looking at everything with a fine-tooth comb. So when they have suspicions, they may make mistakes. They may have bots that are combing channels and have false positives that come up, and that will impact people's channels. And I would just say, do your best to go through the proper avenues to appeal those things. And I realize that especially for small creators, it's not so simple much of the time. The stance of PokerGo would be, we understand that, and as we face some of those issues, we will do our best to convey our learnings and support the smaller creators out there. But to the point about bringing those into the fold, that is very much something that would be a part of our strategy in the future, is just compiling poker content. And it's ultimately what it boils down to us, is identifying what content poker fans enjoy watching and bringing that into the PokerGo fold, both on our subscription product, on our YouTube channel, on our social channels, and everything in between.
I think as well, there is clearly a huge following for poker vloggers on YouTube. You've got people like Brad Owen, Andrew Nemi that have over 140,000 subscribers. So I do think any kind of partnership that PokerGo could do with the vloggers could be beneficial for both parties. The vloggers could upload their videos. I mean, even if it's not PokerGo, I'm sure there's other sort of poker sites out there that could do something like this. But as a vlogger, maybe not the ones that are making a living from it, but the ones that are doing it sort of recreationally, if you know that you can put your video up there and it's going to be safe, I would much rather do that than put it on a site like YouTube. And there's another guy called James Alessandrelli who entered the Vlogger in Paradise competition, which was a platinum pass competition last year, and he said that he's had all of his vlogs taken down. And I actually entered that competition as well, and I know how much time and effort it took to produce those videos, and to have all of those videos taken down would just be heartbreaking. So I think there is definitely a market there for some company to pick up these vloggers. And if you think about it from a business standpoint as well, if you've got 140,000 people that follow one guy on YouTube, think how many subscriptions you might be able to sell just for that person, for those viewers to be able to watch that poker vlogger, as well as all that other content that you have behind that subscription wall, which is building and building with PokerGo. So I definitely think it's something that people should think about, and definitely have a meeting maybe at some point to discuss that and whether that is an option for you.
Yeah, I mean, we're always open to that discussion first and foremost. I think that for our purposes and from our perspective, I'm always thinking about how sort world and the YouTube medium meets live events and what we're broadcasting on a day-to-day basis. I think there's potential for it in not only those who are playing in the events, and one of my favorite examples, although certainly not the example of more of the smaller scale grassroots vloggers that you're referring to, but like a Dana Negreanu, he's vlogging all through the summer. He's playing in the WSOP events that we're streaming, and my understanding is that he's going to be playing in some of our U.S. Poker Open events as well, and he may be doing some vlogging there. So obviously that's ideal for us because we have him doing coverage, not only playing but being a part of our event in some capacity. But maybe there's a potential of those vloggers then doing coverage from sort of a sideline point of view of the events in our studio space, and then those going up on their YouTube channels and us supporting back and forth, and them sending their communities to ours and vice versa, and us driving traffic to their vlogs as well, covering our events. So it's certainly everything on the table. I think from our end, we love to hear the ideas, and even that's one off the bat that I want to take to the bank with me and do some diligence on and put some noodling into. But anyone else out there is free to bring it to us too. We'd love to hear it.
I think it's a really great point that you've made about this idea of, the stuff that we see on PokerGO is very much the finished product, the kind of, just and actually having an angle which is kind of a bit more behind the scenes and what's happening that people don't see, I think is really interesting as well. And I think that's why Daniel Negreanu does so well. I mean, obviously it's Daniel Negreanu, but the fact that he does a daily vlog during the World Series, he shows behind the scenes. Some of his interactions in the last summer with like Phil Ivey and what have you are just gold, because these are things that people won't see on the ESPN sort of feed, where it is literally just the poker table and the hands that are happening. So I think, this kind of idea of this behind the scenes footage is really kind of coming through. And I know I sort of make videos for Charlie Carroll, and we've been doing vlogs about him playing in high stakes poker tournaments, and a lot of these sort of high stakes poker tournaments that aren't covered in these 25, 50, 100k tournaments, there's only 20 or 30 people, and there's no kind of video footage about that. So it's quite nice for the viewer to be able to see stuff that they're maybe reading updates on PokerNews or PokerCentral or what have you, but they don't actually get to see the footage. So I think it's a really good point that you've made, and I think hopefully a lot of the vloggers will reach out to you, and maybe even during I know we tried to set this up last summer, but maybe we can set it up this summer, is having a vloggers game. If we can try and somehow work out getting some of the vloggers down there and seeing what kind of traction we can build as a community of YouTube vloggers, as well as, partnering up with PokerGO.
Yeah, for sure. We did a similar one. It was more of on the streaming side, but we did a Run It Up game a couple months ago now. That was similar type of deal of bringing in those personalities into the space and sort of sending back and forth that traffic. We did some on Twitch, some on PokerGO, back and forth. So we're very much open to that kind of stuff. I think it's very important. I think that the poker in general is something unlike most sports in the compelling nature of the lifestyle, of the international aspects of it, the destinations that serve as venues for this. And when you flip on the ESPN broadcast, you see a single table and the tables that surround it, but you don't see the entirety of the property, the city, the lifestyle that it has to offer. And the same can be said of any poker stream out there. And even our studio space, only a few people have really seen it, but for those that come to it, they say, "Holy crap! I didn't realize this place was so large." And it's unlike most things. They say the camera adds 10 pounds, but in fact, in this case, it removes proverbial pounds because it looks so small on TV versus what it is in person. And we treat it as a destination. We want it to be a destination, and that's a dynamic I think is very important. I think that vlogging is really what that captures, and why vlogs like Daniel's or others out there are so compelling. Is it takes viewers at home into that lifestyle and into that destination of where these people are playing poker.
And especially, I think, as well with the World Series of Poker, which is, of all the stops in sort of throughout the year, is the one that any kind of aspiring poker player wants to attend. But for whatever reason, I'm sure there's a high percentage of poker players out there that will never really be able to make that trip to Vegas during the World Series. A, it's just very expensive. B, it's a big time commitment. So to be able to have that kind of inside look of, and that feel of like, oh, I'm there now. I'm really feeling it. Like, that kind of back entrance that Daniel Negreanu has to be able to get out, because he knows that he's going to get mobbed by 100 people on a break. So he has, I think there's only like three. I think he said in a vlog that there's only like 3 or 4 people that are allowed to use that entrance, like him, Phil Ivey, and Phil Hellmuth. So it's like those kind of things that you would just never know about unless you were watching these vlogs. So I think it's a really interesting point that the insight that you can get from these vloggers. Sean McCormack says, "Hey Sam, how's the partnership with Aria?" This is the guy from Aria, right? I'm pretty sure I saw this on the Faded Spade
yes,
podcast. Right.
I want to say he works for Aria. The name rings a bell. This is, considering the source, this is a very loaded question.
Yeah, well,
but no, I mean I mentioned.
I've loaded it up now, so I'm gonna have to ask it. So, how's the partnership with Aria, specifically working with their poker director? Heard he can be rough sometimes. So, what do you have to say about that?
I'll finish the alley-oop on that one. I mentioned the studio space and what a destination it is, and I've said it on plenty of these sort of interview type things before, and I'll say it again. But it is a destination in Aria with that in mind, because Aria is such a destination. It's an immaculate. We've been partnered with Aria for what in July will be 5 years.
5, wow.
On and off between events, and then for the studio in particular, we opened in May of last year, and then we're doing events from a temporary space a year before that. So full time, basically, come May, it'll be at about 3 years that we've been there permanently, and it's amazing, honestly. I mean, the time, both professionally and working there, but personally as well, and the time I've spent there, enjoying the amenities, enjoying the property in general, having various dinner meetings there, and obviously working with Sean and the team over there. Paul Campbell, of course, one of the best TDs in the world, and the entire staff there is fantastic. So never been better, Sean, and hope for many more years of that partnership.
I've heard that you're getting married there as well. Is that right?
Yes, in fact, yes, I am. I'm getting married, and you cut out there on my feed there, but I don't know if you mentioned it. But it'll be an interesting lob if you didn't. But I'm getting married at Aria, actually.
Yeah,
so
fantastic.
It speaks to my love for the property.
Mm-hmm. And sort of, I guess we're going to sort of start closing off now. But one sort of slightly personal question I want to ask you is, how do you feel about getting married? Are you excited? Are you nervous? Have you had time to think about it with everything going on? Yeah. Yeah,
no, it's exciting, and it certainly gets busy. I appreciate her name's Morgan, my fiance. I appreciate her doing 99% of the work during this wedding planning process, because I'm certainly wrapped up with a lot of my work stuff. But I mean, it's great, and I've been with her ever since I've started with this company, and it's great to be in business and have someone so supportive by your side through and through for the good days as well as the bad, because there are plenty of both on opposite ends of the spectrum. So it's great. I'm excited for it, and at the end of the day, it's like we're best friends, so nothing changes, even when you're married or not. It's all a title.
Fantastic. And is there anything you sort of want to close off by saying as we kind of wrap up now?
I think ultimately what we're looking for, not only with this kind of started with high stakes poker and then worked its way outward from there, but I always say, give us feedback to everyone out in the community, to all fans, whether it's as a fan, as a viewer, as a player, as a vlogger, as a YouTube subscriber, as a PokerGO viewer, whatever it is. We want to hear from you guys, and I think we're obviously always trying to improve, always evolving, and what PokerGO is today is not what PokerGO was when we launched in May of 17. It wasn't what it was a year later in May of 18, and it certainly won't be what we will be in whatever it is month of 21 and beyond. So we're always looking for new ideas, new feedback, new ways to improve the product. So keep that feedback coming. Let us know on social media. We have ways to submit forms to our website, to customer service. I can promise you we have a customer service team. They're all amazing, and whenever we do get that feedback, it finds its way to me eventually. So everything that gets submitted is heard and is acted upon in some way as best we can. So don't think it gets ignored. We appreciate it, we acknowledge it, and we work off of it.
Fantastic. Well, so there you have it, guys. If you've got any kind of feedback for PokerGO, and what I really like about PokerGO is that you are kind of open to what a lot of the feedback is from the players and trying to improve all the time. And I think that's really important, especially in an industry that, there's a lot of competition out there. And I think PokerGO at the forefront because of this reason, that they interact with the people that are kind of watching and the ones that are kind of paying the subscriptions. And I think that's really important as well. So thanks very much for coming on, Sam. And I'm sure I'll see you in Vegas this summer, no doubt. And just as a little side note,
absolutely,
make sure you hit level 60 soon. All right, man. Take care, buddy.
No promises. Make sure you don't bring a jacket this summer. I can promise you it'll be a little bit warmer than it is today.
Don't worry. I live in Bali, man. I don't have any jackets. I had the problem last year when I was going to Prague and it was too cold. So no problems there. All right, man. Take care then, buddy.
Good deal. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
See you. No problem.